Coming to you from Chicago. Yes, Chef, this is GovLove, a podcast about local government. GovLove is produced by ELGL, the Engaging Local Government Leaders Network. We engage the brightest minds in local government. I'm Dan Bolin, a local government attorney and partner at the Anselbrink Law Firm in Chicago. Today, I'm joined by Moses Amidei, the village administrator for the Village of Forest Park, Illinois, and Hannah Lipman, the assistant village manager for the Village of Tinley Park, Illinois. Moses, Hannah, welcome to GovLove.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us today.
Heck yeah. Today we're talking about how ILCMA, the Illinois City County Management Association, is getting the word out to encourage folks to consider rewarding careers in local government. We'll talk about the turnover local governments are experiencing and steps organizations are taking to attract candidates to wide-ranging local government professions. Moses will talk about his important work as village administrator, how he facilitates projects for all village departments. And Hannah will talk about how she worked her way up through her organization from administrative intern to assistant village manager. But first, let's get started with our signature lightning round. Today, we're talking to you all about your careers in local government. Moses, Hannah, when you were younger, what did you want to be when you grew up? Moses, we'll start with you.
When I was young, I envisioned two different career paths. The first one was an MLB baseball player. Of course, I did participate in Little League throughout my youth and grew up as an avid White Sox fan. And my dream was to play in the MLB, and that all changed in sixth grade. My other career option was an airline pilot. I love the travel. I love the whole process on how pilots take people from place to place. And I always loved flying, when I was young. And that was the other option that I envisioned before I got into local government.
Oh, very interesting careers all. I mean, first of all, you, of course, still do consider yourself young. And I think that's fair and appropriate. And you still have room to grow up, I'm sure. But the other thing is, I'm sure that you do experience pilot-like attributes in your current career. Don't you think? Do you make announcements on the overhead or around Village Hall from time to time?
I do not, but I can kind of be considered a pilot. I mean, I'm trying to guide my community and my elected officials into the future and helping us plan and prepare for the future. So I do provide some guidance in that regard, sort of like a pilot, I guess.
Yeah. How about that? I'm sure we're going to hear more about that later. Hannah, how about you?
In second grade, I wanted to be an artist. I remember we had a project and that's what I wrote down. A specific vivid memory. I can't tell you why, but I remember at Christmas time, I was asking for art stuff, whatever that meant. But I had to text my dad and ask, and hey, did I want to be anything specific when I was growing up? And he goes, I think at one point you wanted to be a teacher, but otherwise the typical stuff: an athlete, a doctor, a lawyer. So, there wasn't anything in particular that stood out. I know that when I was looking to go to college for undergrad, I couldn't make up my mind. I was thinking psychology, then physical therapy, and ended up with political science. So a little bit all over the place, but we figured it out.
Oh, that's really good. Lawyer, a fine career. It's turning out fine for me. I'll just mention, but we'll turn back to put a pin in that art idea. As there's some like artistic characteristics of your community. I'll ask you about in a moment. But first, Moses, it's almost Halloween at the time of this recording. And according to Wikipedia, for much of its history, Forest Park, Illinois, was known as a village of cemeteries with more dead residents, quote unquote, than living ones. Some figures estimate the ratio was 30-1 dead to alive. Moses, what are the Forest Park casket races?
Well, that is true. The west side of town is predominantly cemeteries that date back to the mid to 1800s. So our population right now is just over 14,000. The last count with regards to those underground probably looking in north of 500,000. So that is true, what's reported on Wikipedia. But the Forest Park casket races, they are coming up this Saturday, right near our downtown. It is sort of like the life-size version of the Pinewood Derby. We have right now around 19 or 20 entrants, and there are rules. People build themed caskets with 4 wheels, and I believe the rule is they need to contain handlebars, and there needs to be somebody in the casket while the casket is being pushed. The distance of the race, I believe, is 1 city block. We're looking at maybe 300 to 500 feet in length, and it's all timed. Some entrants, everyone has a theme to their casket, both with the casket and what they're wearing. Some are there to win, to come in at the quickest time and to win the race. Some are there just to show off their beautifully decorated caskets with whatever theme that they have chosen for that particular year. So it's a great tradition that's here in Forest Park. I believe we're like in our 10th or 11th year. And I encourage anyone just to drop by, or if you can't, there's a few great videos that are on social media that have been shared on social media from news reports, and we'll try to share out those links in case anybody is interested.
Oh, heck yeah. We'll include some links in the show notes for sure. Now the person in the casket is alive, correct? I'm just,
Yes.
This is a little different than the Pinewood Derby I experienced during Boy Scouts growing up. We didn't have caskets, but this sounds like a little more Halloween fun. That is something folks looking forward to this time of year, right?
That's correct. I mean, it's like the Pinewood Derby in a sense where there is science behind it. So if you enter and you want to enter to win, how the casket is created, and how you modify your Pinewood Derby card to be the fastest as it goes down the ramp. There's 4 people pushing, 1 person inside the casket, and how to make the fastest casket that you can. There is some sort of science behind it that sometimes it takes people a few years just to perfect and get right.
Maybe I should check this out, because my Pinewood Derby performance growing up was not very good. Maybe I can learn a thing or two watching these casket races. So thank you, Moses. Hannah, Tinley Park, of course, is probably most famous as a home to the Hollywood Casino Amphitheater, formerly named the World Music Theater, the Tweeter Center, Chicago, and the First Midwest Bank Amphitheater. What do you call this place, and what's the best show you've seen there?
It's a good question, Dan. Growing up, I grew up on the south side of Chicago in the Mount Greenwood neighborhood. So in high school, my friends and I we would all get on a school bus and come on over to Tinley Park and go to the summer concerts, all the country concerts all summer long. So I have some memories doing that. So it's funny that I kind of ended up here in this community working for the Village now. But since I've worked here, I've gotten used to calling it the Hollywood Casino Amphitheater. Back in high school, I probably would have called it the First Midwest Bank Amphitheater, but depending on who you're talking to, you'll definitely get a different iteration of that name. And there are times that they've gone to the venue and seen different shows, but I think the best show that I've seen might have been Chris Stapleton. I actually went a couple of years back when he was there, so that was definitely one of my favorites.
Oh, very, very cool. Do you have a favorite song or a favorite moment from the show that you recall?
Great question. I don't know, I just remember being an overall good day. Just went with friends, and it's Chris Stapleton. How could you not like him, right? So it was just good to see him live. I think I've been wanting to see him for a while. So
Yeah, just hanging out with friends at what I still think of as the World Music Theater, but that's maybe a little dated. And hey, good times at the music theater, whatever you call it. It's the end of our lightning round. You all have a perfect score. You're tied. That means we can move on with our interview. Congratulations. Well, we'll start it with talking about we're talking about careers. Let's talk about yours. Moses, please tell me about your career path, starting with the day you were born.
Well, if we're going to start with the day that I was born, the earliest memory that I have working, my father was a water plant operator when I was very young. I grew up in the city of Highwood. The city of Highwood has its own water plant on Lake Michigan. And while I was young, my father, before he went into business for himself, was a water plant operator. So at that time, in order to read meters, we would have to go to each house and do a manual read of every meter. And I remember being very small and accompanying him all over town. And obviously I didn't get paid, but I would get paid, from the homes that I would visit, they would give me cookies and candy. So it's a very fond memory that I have on how I started, I guess, my local government career at a very young age.
Oh, that's very cool. And Highwood, mind you, tying back to our Halloween callback, they have a robust Halloween festival of their own out there. Did that happen while you were there?
No, that was after I did leave Highwood. And I'll talk about later, I did end up working for Highwood as I started my local government career.
Oh.
But the Great Highwood Pumpkin Festival, now it's probably over a decade old, and it's not just locally known, but it's nationally known too. They've received a lot of fanfare, and they're very well known around the country for their Highwood Pumpkin Fest. As about 10 years ago, they tried to break the records for most lit jack-o'-lanterns. The record's around 30,000. They just came up short, but that really put them on the map nationally, is that pumpkin festival.
Oh, yeah, very cool. So tell me how you got from reading meters as a kid to the start of your career in Highwood.
So fast forward a few years after reading meters, my main job growing up was a golf caddy. I caddied at Exmoor Country Club in Highland Park for 15 years. I was fortunate to be awarded an Evans Scholarship through my service as a golf caddy, and that put me through undergrad. And during the undergrad years, you're still searching for who you are and what you want to do. And ultimately, I chose the public administration path versus going into politics. I was a political science major during my undergrad years at Northern Illinois. And right after I graduated, I started graduate school in public administration and started my career as an intern in my hometown of Highwood.
Oh, very, very cool. Well, what did you tell me more about your experience in Highwood as an intern? What was that like?
That was a great experience. I chose to start my career in my hometown as I wanted to give back to a town that gave me so much and a great childhood.
Yeah.
At the time they were in need of an intern. I knew at the time that Highwood was in a big state of transition. It needed to turn a corner in terms of downtown redevelopment. It was losing its title as restaurant capital of the North Shore due to competition, not only from neighboring communities, but the region as a whole. And it had some other challenges as well that I wanted to be a part of. And it was a very, very busy time right after the year 2000. It was a very busy internship, and there were several different projects and challenges during the 5 years that I was there that I was very proud to be a part of, not only turning its business district around, but its residential districts as well. And I'm proud to say I helped lay the foundation for a lot of the successes that Highwood's had since my departure. And one of which, as you had indicated, it's a town known for its community festivals. So it's not just Pumpkin Fest, but everything else that they do throughout the year. I'm really proud that I was able to lay the foundation for those that came after me.
It's a fun town. It's how you turned out to be such a fun guy, I think. But in any event, so how, besides growing up there, how'd you get connected with your first local government job anyhow?
Yeah, it was through my experience at Northern Illinois University. They have a graduate level program in public administration. It's a nationally ranked program in city management. And as part of the curriculum, as part of the process with that graduate degree, students have internships at various communities, or if they're going through the nonprofit route, at nonprofits. So in addition to pursuing a graduate degree in public administration, that process was, for me, it was 2.5 years. While I was obtaining my degree, I interned with my hometown in conjunction with that degree program.
So in terms of like, if you're talking to somebody that, is interested in local government, do you think they have to go to graduate school or necessarily, or do they, what advice would you have for somebody breaking into local government, or advice for somebody following a path more like yours?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And it's probably one of the most important questions you'll ask, during this podcast. I kind of went what's called the traditional route. So undergrad degree in political science, even though our position today is not political, and graduate degree in public administration. That's the traditional route. But no, and just for everybody listening here too, a public administration degree is not necessarily required. There's a whole myriad of different opportunities that are out there in local government. A lot of different departments. Local government does not just mean what Hannah and I do as managers. There's just so many different routes one can take to get into local government, and we are here today just to kind of highlight who we are and who our people are as well.
I'm flattered whenever you point out and ask a good question. Everybody, feel free to do it throughout the entire course of the episode. I just love hearing that. But in all seriousness, so that's so grad school, your role in Highwood. What happened next in your career?
After Highwood, I was the village administrator in Wadsworth. It's a small rural community at the north end of Lake County. We are right at the door with the state of Wisconsin, and I was there for 14 years. And it's a different environment than Highwood or Forest Park, where I am now. It's a rural community, but it was a blessing that I was there for the time that I was there. Such a great education, mainly because I was at the forefront and, in front of everything that we did. So it was a great education in all things government, how we provided public services to our residency and to our constituents. A little bit different than, in more urban environments where we're really hands-on and full service. In rural communities, sometimes you don't have the same opportunities. You need to partner with a lot of other agencies or public-private partnerships. And, I've come full circle through my local government career on, how we provide services to our taxpayers.
Yeah. So what's kind of the difference between maybe this will inform, the larger discussion, not only the range of professions, but the range of communities that that you could work with in local government. What's kind of the difference in experience between a more rural community like Wadsworth and where you are today?
Yeah. So one thing I learned throughout my career is there's no one size fits all. What everyone should do what works best for them and for their taxpayers. So what may work in one community may not be applicable to another community. So in Wadsworth, with the limited tax base, a lot of what we did, we partnered. We partnered with our neighboring towns. We had a lot of interactions with our county government and state government to some degree. So very limited service, and we did not have an opportunity to kind of expand our government, and services in light of some challenges that we had in terms of raising revenue. So we had to get creative and we had to pursue partnerships. When I was in Highwood or here in Forest Park, it's different. We're very hands-on. We're very full service. We're very part of everybody's life, day-to-day life. In a more rural community, you're more hands-off on people's life. Very limited interaction with your constituency. So it just depends. But, again, I will say again, what is the best way that somebody should deliver services to the public? A lot of it is just depends on, what opportunities you have, what you're able to do, and, whether or not you should be delivering certain public services to your constituents based on what the needs are. And everywhere is different. There's no one size fits all.
Well said. An interesting career path. I'd want to hear about another one, though. Hannah, I know you've been texting your dad. Tell us about your career path, starting from your very young days, if you would.
Well, it's funny you say texting my dad. So no, I'm not texting him right now, but I do owe a lot to my dad. I always kind of start off my story, if you'll call it, with him. So he was actually a Chicago police officer for 30 years. And when he finished, he was in charge of training at the academy and was working on programs like community policing and procedural justice. He actually went and presented at President Obama's task force on 21st century policing. So, that public service minded, I guess, just value really came from him. And I can remember growing up and hearing him talking with one of my older brothers at the dinner table about issues and, this and that, and just being like, well, why can't you just do this to fix it? Or what about this or that? So I think from a young age that public service nature was just kind of instilled in me and wanting to give back and wanting to help and leave things a bit better than I found it. But no, so I was an athlete my whole life. I played basketball from 4th grade all the way through college. I played 4 years at Elmhurst College, now known as Elmhurst University. So I think in a way that was my career for my whole life, 4th grade through college, just playing that year round. So a couple odd jobs here and there, coaching or, working at a center for Elmhurst College where I went to undergrad. But I got my first internship actually in local government while I was still an undergrad. So I found my way into the local government realm pretty early on, which I'm pretty thankful for. I feel like that's, one of the things that has benefited me and helped me kind of find my way, at such a young age still. So I always joke that I still have a whole career ahead of me. That's for sure. But yeah, I started here with the Village of Tinley Park when it was my 21st birthday, actually. So yeah, my first career professional job was here with the Village.
Oh, wow. That is an excellent way to celebrate your 21st birthday. Maybe not the most common one, but maybe it should be more common. So how'd you get connected with the Village in the first place?
So I remember looking for internships and, like I said, in undergrad, knowing that I needed some real life experience. I was a political science and urban studies major, knowing that I didn't necessarily want to be, a lawyer and go that route. So I was trying to figure out what else I could do. And I remember my one professor sort of recommending, why don't you look at, alderman offices or things of that nature for the city of Chicago. So I was doing that, and then one of the people my dad works with, actually, who lives in Tinley, was like, hey, I think they have an internship available. So I threw my name in the hat and applied, and found my way into local government. And once I had that under my belt, I knew there was no looking back. I knew it was what I wanted to do, that I had found a cool little niche and that there was a lot of opportunity there, and that I would go ahead and continue on and get my master's in public administration and continue down this route.
Oh, very cool. And so how'd you continue to grow with the organization from your role as an intern?
Yeah, so while I was an intern, while I was doing that, and then while I transitioned to full-time as a management analyst, I went on and got my master's at Northwestern in public policy and administration. So furthered my education in that regard. And then really just, in the organization, got my hands on whatever I could get my hands on. Anytime something sounded interesting or someone needed help with anything, I would just jump at the opportunity and ask to be involved. And I'm fortunate that there's a lot of good staff here that trust in me and let me do that. I'm sure they were just happy to get things off of their plate. But I was happy to do that for them. So, I always say that it's kind of crazy looking back that I've been here for 6 years, but I'm also not that surprised just because there's been nothing but good opportunity, no shortage of work, and lots of good people that make it all worth it.
Oh, that's very cool. And nice to hear that there's been lots of opportunity for growth. What's kind of helped you move up in your organization, do you think?
I guess a multitude of factors. We've had a lot of over the years that's, not new to anyone in local government now, just turnover. So, when there's vacancies in staff, picking up the pieces and trying to carry things along and fill the gaps there. For example, right now we don't have a finance director. So I am assistant village manager / finance director. I'm not whipping out my calculator, crunching numbers or anything, but when it comes to putting the budget together, I can say that, I ran our budget cycle the last year and, hosted all of our meetings and put that final 450 page document together. So it's really just, again, kind of stepping in wherever the team needs it and doing what you got to do to get the job done. I think that's one of the most rewarding things about local government is that you get to wear different hats. You get to, be involved in different things, whether it's a new development project or, something like the budget. There's lots of opportunity in that regard.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of opportunities. I experience the same thing in my work. I never know what's going to happen when I open up my email inbox. So it's definitely never boring.
Yeah.
But the very very cool story. But we should get to what we've been teasing that we're here to talk about is what ILCMA is kind of doing to attract folks to local government workers. What is ILCMA, gang, and what do you guys do there? Moses, you want to start?
Sure. So ILCMA is the state association for ICMA, the National Association, the International City County Management Association. And why do we exist? We support and want to improve municipal and county management, especially strengthening local professional management and local government in our state of Illinois, obviously nationally as well. So we are an organization that's made up of city and village managers and assistant managers, department heads, and people collectively that have a strong interest to professionalize and strengthen, local government. Local government is the government close to the people. We can, we have that, I guess, daily interaction with our constituents, and we want to be as professional and as efficient as possible. And, that's who we are, and that's what we represent.
Well, that's very cool. Hannah, what do you do with ILCMA?
Yeah, so similar to Moses, I'm on the communications committee, and that committee really just, helps to, further local government and promote the profession and, not necessarily just the administrator route that Moses and I are on, but, whether it's in a different department as a planner or working in public works as a public works director. So it's really just serves to be a resource for those who are interested for, professional development, staying up on current trends and, being that go-to face for people in the profession. One of the best things about local government is that, they teach you in school not to plagiarize, but when it comes to local government, all you have to do is just call up someone from the next town over, and they're more than happy to share with you what they've done and what they've implemented. So it really serves as a good resource too that helps you on a day-to-day basis whenever you have some questions.
Nice endorsement of plagiarism. Just kidding. Thank you. But you already touched on this a little bit. the Communications Committee, ILCMA, has been trying to get the word out about and attract folks to local government. Well, why is that? You mentioned employee, so the general turnover that like the workforce more generally is experiencing. What else is causing you guys to work on this?
Well, one of the main reasons behind this video is the audience that we're trying to target. And it's not just kids that are in college right now, but it's also people in high school. Local government means a lot of things. It's not just the mayor and the village council or the aldermen, that are, usually the face of the organization. But what Hannah and I do is we're the day-to-day. The mayor and the councils, they set policy, and our jobs is to carry out that policy on a daily basis. So when we talk about local government, we talk about the manager's office, finance department, police, fire, public works. When you turn on your faucet every day and there's water, local government makes that happen. So in what we do in local government, there's just so many different career paths that a lot of people just don't know about. And we want them to start getting to think about it, while they're in high school, not just college. So, and as we all know, college may not be, an option for everyone, or may not be the required option for everybody. So, we do have diversity when it comes to the different job career paths in local government. And we'd like to highlight that and showcase that as a great choice for anyone, especially those who would like to serve the public, because that's what we do every day.
A timely mention, ILCMA did recently release a video called Exploring Local Government Careers. We're going to take a look at some clips of that here today, or take a listen, I should say, and include a full link in the show notes where you can look at that. Also look at the links of the casket races we're going to put there too. So lots of cool videos to check out. But you already touched on a bit. How did you guys decide to make this video?
Great question. I think it just kind of came up in discussions with the committee. I think nowadays we see, again, just some turnover, and whether it's local government or any other job sector, that it's getting harder and harder to recruit good candidates and qualified workers. And being as important of a career as local government is, we want to make sure that we are doing our part to go ahead and promote the profession, because it really is something that is important and also rewarding. And a lot of people are, I think if they found their way into it, would really enjoy it and be really good at it. So it's just our way of doing what we can to try and attract more talent to the profession, and also just educating, like Moses said, the younger population, whether it's high schoolers or people in college, or even just the public, so they understand how government works, especially at the local level, because a lot of the times things are so out of sight, out of mind, because local government is life well run, that they don't know. So when they have an issue, they call and they're all upset, and they don't understand, why something's being done the way it is. So twofold in the sense that, it's an educational tool, but also a bit of a recruitment tool.
Moses, do you have anything to add to that? And maybe you could add some of the feedback you've heard about this video from the media or elsewhere.
Yeah, a lot of great feedback. And again, we highlighted a number of professionals in our association on what they do and where they fit into the daily puzzle on making a community work. It takes a whole organization to make a community work. And there's a lot that goes into making a community successful every day that one might not think of or expect. There's a lot going on behind the scenes with planning, how things are paid for, what are the different options when a new development is proposed, what needs to go into an analysis. Like I said, there's a lot of different pieces to the local government puzzle, and it requires all of them working in harmony. And that's what a manager's job is, to make sure they all work in harmony to build a successful and sustainable community.
Well said. A lot of important organizations out there: ILCMA, the Engaging Local Government Leaders Network, others. But let's get to the start of the show. Let's maybe take a look at our first clip from this video. Engineer Rick's on the call. Rick, why don't you roll the clip?
Okay.
How can you make an impact? Do you want to be part of something bigger than yourself that affects generations to come? A career with a city, village, or county where you can make a difference, have a positive impact in the lives of others, and help map out a community's future? If this is how you want to impact the world, take a look at local government professional management. Major public projects are part of the many areas of focus in delivering services to a community, and they don't just happen overnight. They begin with a thought and end with something that provides a wide variety of benefits today and for generations. There are many steps along the way, and it all starts with a concept that becomes reality.
Very cool. Hannah, maybe first of all, for the listener, the footage in this video, you got to check it out. It starts with some like big words that come crashing down and like a cool explosion type thing. And then some footage of some like infrastructure and some like just beautiful footage. But aside from how good the video looks, which our listeners can check out later, Hannah, maybe you could tell us about some of the main themes you're trying to introduce with this video.
Yeah, I really like how the video starts. One of the key phrases you'll hear is, are you interested in making a difference? And I think it's such a true statement. I always go back to, my story as an intern. Like I said, I started while I was an undergrad. So I was working over summer. I went away for the fall and then kind of came back, in the winter and spring and was working. And in that summer, I remember one of my first tasks was to help an individual, a resident who had reached out. There were some utility poles that were at the end of his sidewalk that led into where the old Kmart in town was, and they weren't ADA accessible. They weren't spaced properly. And so they said, you know what, Hannah, just figure it out. So I had to work with our community development department, get the right contact for the property management. And so I remember reaching out several times with, not much of a response, just kind of blowing me off a little bit, but, at least responding. So I left for the summer. When I came back later that, in that winter, I had an email from the resident just saying, thank you. The poles are just totally removed now. I can just, in my wheelchair, get from my house just straight down the block instead of having to go, all the way around onto a busy road and whatnot. And I think that's the key, right? You get to make a difference. I just remember sitting back and being like, wow, that was cool. I'm just an intern and I got to help this person. It may be one person, but you make a difference and you get to see that difference, no matter how big or small it may be.
Oh, that's a really cool story. And an example of like how rewarding this career in local government can be. Moses, do you have any stories like that? I thought that was lovely.
Yeah, I mean, just I'm very blessed that over the course of my career in 3 communities, I've been in Forest Park for just over a year now, so I'm still working on establishing some of those long-term successes. We're doing a lot of infrastructure work here in Forest Park that's needed, infrastructure that's over 100 years old, and part of my job along with their staff is the planning for the replacement of that will have generational impacts is what's going to be coming on the horizon, with at least in the short term here in Forest Park. But going back to my Highwood days, I'm very proud to be part of the rejuvenation of downtown Highwood. Really helped set the table for what's going on in town now. Big infrastructure project took place in the early 2000s, which ultimately led to a lot of investment in the downtown area, which led into more opportunity to get the community involved with many of its festivals, where Highwood is a destination once again. It struggled during the 80s and 90s, especially with the effects of regional malls. Well, a lot of people don't realize, when the malls came out in the early 70s, it really hurt downtown areas. And, downtowns in the late 90s, early 2000s, we're becoming community focal points again. So just a lot of those generational, long-lasting impact projects that I've been involved with, I'm really, proud about. And, today, my family still lives in Highwood. I'll take my boys downtown and we'll be walking around town and be like, yeah, I helped with this, or I planted that tree, and, I was here before it was an empty building, and look at it now. So it's kind of cool to show, my kids, kind of what I do and what the end result has been, with years and years of planning and preparation for some investment projects.
Oh, what a cool opportunity to be able to look back on some of the work you've done and see how it's changed and grown, and how you've been able to make an impact. Another an important theme of this video. Rick, let's take a look at our next clip.
Gita, a city manager. She represents the very top of the local government management team. Managers oversee day-to-day operations of a community, including police, fire, community development, finance, and other city, village, or county departments. The manager carries out the ultimate policy while supervising staff and managing the community. It's comparable to a CEO of an organization who works with other organizations, such as counties, school districts, townships, and park districts, to set priorities and goals, and then executes their common vision.
Cities are dynamic places that are always changing, which is what makes my job so challenging, but also incredibly rewarding. Entrepreneurs want to open restaurants, retail shops, and other businesses that enrich our communities. Residents want to improve parks, green spaces, and other amenities. We provide guidance to developers so that we have diverse and affordable housing options. We also work on bike trails and enhance different transportation options in and around the community. Public projects include engaging with community members through a transparent and inclusive process, as we all work toward the common goal for what our town will be like today and into the future.
Another great clip for the listener. More footage you could see later on, but as you could hear, the polished video, the music, it slaps. It's a bop. But also, you've got some interesting people in this video. Are these paid actors, or how did you find them? Moses?
Yeah, these are not paid actors. These are our colleagues that are currently working in Illinois, that have been for quite some time now, and are true professionals and very experienced in their particular field. As Gita points out in this in her segment, there is just so much that goes into making local government work, from community planning to, public safety to infrastructure. It takes a very professional team and people who are true professionals in their field to make things work.
Yes, of course, it's Gita Newgrich from Highland Park, Illinois, and she's got the similar role to yours in Forest Park, Moses. How do you relate to what Gita had to say?
In our jobs, we're generalists, but we need to have knowledge of every different facet of government. So yes, our department heads who are experienced professionals in their fields, we rely on them for running their department. But we still need to have knowledge of what's going on in local government, what's going on locally, what's going on regionally and nationally, and how that affects, our whole operation. So our roles as leaders, as managers, is to be out front in a lot of these emerging trends, and trends change over time as well. So what may be true 10, 20 years ago is completely different now. We need to stay on top of that and prepare for what's now and what's coming ahead.
Well said. And for our next clip, Rick, we're going to skip ahead a little bit to Napoleon Haney. He's the assistant village manager in Homewood, Illinois. Let's take a look at that one. And that he's got a similar role to Hannah's, and we'll ask her about it in a bit. Let's see.
To life and becomes reality.
Meet Napoleon, an assistant manager. He plays an important supporting role while helping to influence his organization's culture. He leads teams that work together to implement the community's plans moving forward. He He's the team captain that sets the stage for things to happen.
When it comes to new development projects, while interacting directly with builders, architects, and other team members, I help to understand their goals and ensure they sync up with ours. Engaging our community is extremely important so that our citizens have a say and an understanding of all aspects of a proposed project. I'm an important part of our leadership team that builds a culture of trust, respect, and inclusion within our organization and throughout our community.
Very well said. Comments, Hannah, how do you relate to them? And what do you have to add to Napoleon's thoughts on teamwork and your day-to-day work?
Yeah, I think Napoleon hits the nail on the head. He talks about trust, respect, and inclusion. And I think he really does highlight some of what local government does best. He talks about being the team captain, and in a sense, it really does feel like that, right? Yeah, I mean, here in Tinley, for example, we have over 450 employees. So while my manager oversees certain departments and I also oversee certain departments, it really is interacting and making sure that the organization as a whole functions from top to bottom. Every position, whether you're a police officer on the streets or a customer service representative here at Village Hall, answering phone calls for residents is just as important as the next. So, a large part of my role is just helping to be that support and making sure that things are running smoothly. But then something else Napoleon highlights is also one of the fun aspects of the job and the engagement side of things, and being able to engage with not only your employees across the organization, but consultants and developers and different stakeholders in the community. So you really get to do a variety of things and engage with a variety of people on all different levels, and bringing it all together and seeing the outcome is something that really makes the role all worth it.
Yeah, because bringing it all together, like, cause some of these people you're working with are kind of like technical roles, like urban planning and civil engineering, public works. Like I don't have a CDL. I'm not sure if you do, but you kind of rely on these other folks and bring them together to get the work done, right?
Yeah, definitely. I don't have a CDL. I'm not out there driving our snowplows. No thanks. But I can appreciate our maintenance workers and our public works staff who do. So I think that's, again, one of the great aspects of the job is that you don't have to be an expert in everything. You just have to know enough or know where to get your answers. If we're working on a development project, for example, it's important to, have the right people in the room, have our village engineers and our planners, and, maybe someone from our finance team if it involves some financing or a financial incentive. It's just having the right people in the room and working together and problem solving and putting your brains together to, find that best outcome and that solution.
Well, you haven't driven a snowplow, but you have taken a spin in the budget truck. So let's take a look let's hear from Nikki Larson, the finance director in Glencoe, about what that's like. Rick?
Meet Nikki, the finance department director. Her department's role is to be diligent, transparent, and accountable to the public in how tax dollars are spent. She's the bottom line.
I need to understand the financial impact of new projects and analyze costs to ensure they're sustainable, while working with our team to negotiate financially responsible agreements. There's a deep commitment, responsibility, and ownership in seeing when projects can become a community asset. And with financing, they're made possible. The finance department helps pave the way for developments to become valuable assets for the community, which affects our citizens today and well into the future.
Meet Philip.
Ooh, we'll meet Philip in a minute, but let's talk about Hannah. How do you relate to what Nikki had to say about your work as in your treasurer role?
Yeah, so finance is really one of those core functions of local government. A lot of the times they are behind the scenes, and you may not think they touch everything, but they really do. Everything from payroll and making sure all of our employees are paid and happy, to working on the budget or crunching numbers for financial incentives. They really touch just about every department and every aspect of what we do, and they really do play a critical role, especially in today's day and age, as transparency is more important than ever, and being financially responsible with the taxpayers' money that we do spend, making sure that what we do is within our means, and that we are transparent about what we are spending.
Oh, gee whiz. If I was better at math, maybe I wouldn't have gone to law school. How do you communicate these kind of big financial ideas within your own organization and to the public?
Yeah, I think the key is, as we are working on a project, or, talking about big expenditures, there is a process for everything. We have, financial policies and guides and whatnot. And ultimately, the village board has to approve all expenditures over a certain limit. So it really is just bringing that forth to the village board and presenting it to them and asking them to make a decision on that expenditure. So that way we can move forward and either, make that purchase or implement the policy that's associated with it, and go from there.
Well said. It's time to meet Phil Green, a planner from Hoffman Estates. Rick?
A planner in the Community Development Department.
When a development is initially proposed, all the way to when it's ready to launch, I'm working to understand it from many perspectives, including our residents, elected officials, other departments, and also from the developers. I have to quickly become the expert on something that I may be learning about for the first time. And then I need to communicate a project's potential and benefits to the community.
Hey, Moses, that idea really resonated with me, becoming an expert on something you're learning for the first time. Have you ever encountered that in your role?
Yeah, all the time. So, when I started my internship in Highwood, obviously, I'm learning everything new for the first time, and I was able to work with all different departments there. So you do have a great team of staff that you'll learn from, and a lot of different experiences. So I'll make that clear. I mean, in local government, the different scenarios and experiences, nothing's ever the same. And, a lot of it is you learn as you go a lot of times. And, especially when I got to Wadsworth, because I was kind of the department head of everything there, I had to learn. And I had to learn from our successes. I had to learn from our mistakes. What did I learn from each situation? How would I do this differently? And it's important that, not only do you learn from your mistakes, but you've got colleagues that you can always call on to say, hey, I heard about you're doing this in your community. Tell me about that. I might be experiencing something similar in mine, and I'd like to learn from you. And that's important. So it's really important to note that we have a great network of local government professionals here in Illinois, obviously nationally as well. But, whether you're working in the manager's office, or whether you're, police, fire, public works departments, or finance departments, everybody has a great network that they can learn from and reach out to in the event you're learning something or experiencing something for the very first time, because somebody has experienced that new thing somewhere else, and you want to learn from it.
Yeah, Hannah mentioned that too, reaching out to other communities to stand on the shoulders of other folks who might have done it before. So that's a important takeaway too. Rick, let's roll the next one.
Meet Nadeem, the Public Works Director. He helps to maintain the city's infrastructure while also providing for the safety and maintenance of public areas. Infrastructure doesn't just mean streets, underground utilities, sewer and water mains, but also trees and sidewalks, which are all parts of a community that affect quality of life. He protects and maintains the community's building blocks.
We handle project inspections that ensure water and sewer systems are working properly. We also identify areas that need improvements to meet building and community standards. This means making sure sidewalks are safe, traffic lights are working, streets are wide enough for snowplows and sweepers, and other engineering issues that need to be addressed.
That was Nadeem Badran from the Public Works Director in Lincolnwood, Illinois. Folks, at the time of this recording, the first observed snowfall in Chicago was today, which is upsetting to me. What besides snow plowing is important that Public Works does for your organization, Hannah?
Yeah, Public Works really keeps the town running. Sometimes they, a running joke around here is that sometimes they almost feel as if they're the redheaded stepchild, because a lot of what they do, the regular or average resident may not recognize. When you're dealing with infrastructure that's underground, such as, the water main or sewage pipes, or, things like keeping the streetlights on and running, or, plowing the snow. Sometimes you're not actually seeing these things take place. But they're incredibly important. And again, they really just keep the town running. They do a lot. It takes a lot of effort. But without them, things would be a lot more complicated, and we'd get a lot more complaints, that's for sure.
Moses, how about you guys?
Yeah, as the narrator indicated, Public Works means both what you can see and what you cannot see. So keeping the roads safe, keeping the water running, flooding, taking care of our trees, our parkways. There's a lot that goes into keeping our infrastructure moving, because it keeps the community moving, and the community relies and expects that every day, no matter what the weather is. So, especially with when we get some, severe weather events, whether it be storms or snowfalls, Public Works is expected, to keep those roads open, to keep our pipes functioning, so our lives keep functioning, in good times and in tough weather events. So that, they really do a great job keeping the community running on a day-to-day basis.
Well said. A breadth of local government professions and roles covered by the video. Let's throw to the video one last time to sum it all up. Rick?
Internships are where many of us started out in our careers, and how you can learn more about the different departments and their initiatives. From economic development, finance and budgeting, human resources, community policing, fire prevention, and so much more. Local government is more than just a job. It's a chance to make a difference in people's lives, as well as in a community and the greater region.
Do you have what it takes to make a difference, impact the lives of others, and play a part in mapping out a community's future? If so, give us a look. We are Professional Local Government Management. Learn more at ilcma.org/localgovcareers.
Very cool. Well said. The video mentioned internships as a way to get started in local government. Each of you got your start there. What advice would you have for folks looking to get connected with those kinds of opportunities? Moses?
There's a few ways. Number one, I need to give a plug for our website, ilcma.org. There is a section on our website regarding why professional management and how to get into the profession.
Yeah.
So it takes you to an ICMA page of what we do and what's out there. And how you can get involved. And a lot of time can be through your local community. You may be in a community that, has a city manager that will be more than happy to talk to, someone who will have an interest in public service. And when we say public service, as we stated earlier, public service means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Public service, can mean, be a police officer or, have a career in the fire service. We highlighted a couple of those different career options in the video that we just chatted about. So ilcma.org, the Illinois City County Management Association, has some of those places that one can look into if you'd like to talk to somebody, especially somebody who is, currently having a career in local government. So I will highly recommend that as well.
Well said. Hannah, your thoughts?
Yeah, I would echo a lot of what Moses said, and also encourage people just to find ways to be involved, whether it's your community or, really any community. Reach out to someone involved in the local government, whether it's someone in the village manager's office or maybe the community development department or whatever area you're interested in. Ask if you could just shadow, whether it be for a day or a week, to just get an understanding of a day in the life. Ask them if they can just go sit down and get coffee or just talk to you for a little bit if it's something that you seem interested in, and see what they have to say. But I would agree that an internship is definitely the best way to really get your feet wet and dive in. And I think most people, once they start that internship, there's no looking back. So I would highly encourage that. It really works out well for most people.
Internships are one way, but Moses, what advice do you have for somebody who might be farther along in their career that's considering public service?
Again, I'd reach out to somebody that's currently in the public service profession. Starting with, say, a city manager, and that person can help guide you on what your interests are. And if your career path may not be in city management, we can refer you who to talk to in that specific type of career, whether it's public safety or public works or even finance or community planning.
Right.
Where we can refer you to for follow-up and for, additional discussions and potential shadowing, as we talked about. What advice can those particular individuals give someone looking to get into that niche that you may have interest in? I tell interns all the time, when you're in an internship, don't niche yourself in terms of one specific area of focus, because there might be something that, as you're learning about the different departments and the different services that local government do provide, there might be something that sparks your interest. So keep an open mind. If you're looking at the career, because, the careers and the diversity of them is pretty significant. Like I said, local government means a lot of different things, and there's a lot of different career paths when one considers a public service career.
Well said. And let's, instead of talking to the folks that are thinking about local government careers for a minute, let's talk to some of the folks that are in local government right now. What are some of your what are your municipalities doing to attract local governments, and what advice do you have for organizations that are trying to attract local government workers to your organization? Hannah, what's going on in Tinley Park? How are you trying to get people connected with your organization?
Yeah, it's definitely been difficult, to say the least. As Moses started to point out, there are a lot of people nowadays who are just changing career paths and coming to us in non-traditional routes. And I think it's really been beneficial to be open to that. My village manager, for example, he was military. He was career military, and then worked with our emergency management department and really, worked his way kind of up and over into the village manager role. And that's just one example. In our finance department, we have our assistant finance director that we hired within the last year, who doesn't have any municipal background, that came to us, but he's been filling in and doing a great job. So I think it's being open to that non-traditional route, but also getting creative about recruitment. The candidate pools are definitely still strong, but definitely smaller nowadays. Certain positions are harder to recruit than others. Especially some of those specialty positions, but
Right.
It's engaging people and bringing government to them, so to say, following up on social media and thinking innovatively and outside of the box on how you go about recruiting to really capture people's attention.
Moses, what are you guys doing? Are you making your own video, or what's going on in Forest Park?
So yeah, we just, like everybody else, need to cast a wide net. We need to be creative on how we get the word out for potential candidates. our community is very diverse. We would like a very diverse workforce. So we want to make sure that we cast a wide net and, bring in people that will have a diversity of backgrounds and experiences, which will make us better as well. So as we talked about, there's the traditional route of people getting started in public service versus the non-traditional way people get involved in public service. And we want to make sure that we can capture, a diversity of candidates because it'll make us just better in the long term.
Well said. We're getting closer to time to wrap up. Just want to ask you guys maybe to share what y'all like best about working in local government. Hannah?
It's a great question. Local government's very rewarding. Every day is different. It's funny when I try to explain it to my friends, I, give them an idea of my day to day, and then they just go, well, when are you going to be mayor? And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. But it's fun. You get to deal with people, whether it's your coworkers or residents or businesses or developers. So each day brings something new. There's no shortage of opportunity. I, selfishly, acknowledge the fact that I am young. Like I said, I started in local government. I think I was 20, and I stepped into the role of assistant village manager at the age of 26. So I just like to encourage people that, just because you're young and people may see that, it doesn't mean that you don't work hard or that you're not qualified or that you don't deserve to be there. So I just like that I get to bring a fresh perspective and kind of challenge the way things have been done. And, you don't always have to do things the way they've always been done. And, I think oftentimes government is sort of the last to react or change with the times. And I feel that I have an important role in making sure that we do, begin to change and look at the way we're doing things and implement technology. So, all that just to say that, there's a lot of opportunity. You have a lot of room to grow, and you really get to make an impact and see the things that you're working on come to life. Maybe not on a day-to-day basis, but as Moses pointed out earlier, over time, and maybe it's decades down the road, but you get to know that you had some kind of a lasting impact.
Oh, yeah. Well said. Making a difference. Moses, your thoughts?
As Hannah indicated, every day is different. I mean, and I tell everyone, about my tenure here in Forest Park, the machine never stops.
Yeah.
We're really busy. There's a lot going on, so we always need to be on our toes, and it's always very engaging, and we're always, ready for the next challenge, every day that we get here. So that's what makes it fun. We're here to better people's lives, and we're here to make a difference in everyone's life as well. I think our video is very timely. Even though the video has been circulating around the different social media channels for about a year now or a little bit more, it's very timely because the theme of the video is, all the different puzzle pieces that fit together to make a community work. As a homework assignment, I would ask that our listeners kind of watch what's going to be happening over the next few years in the Northwest section of the Chicago suburbs, where a team wants to build a new stadium. And that's going to be local government at work in action. That shows that there's a lot of different things that go into what's being proposed in the Northwest suburbs. You've got transportation, you've got long-term planning, you've got financing, and you've got a part of a community that's going to be potentially redeveloped, and how that development will impact, not just the short term, but in generations. So that's a really prime example on how a lot of different parts of a community, the internal community and its external partners, especially when dealing with transportation, how that affects the day-to-day lives of the people of the Northwest suburbs. So that'll be an interesting case study to kind of watch the people that may just have a little passive interest in local government, how it makes it work. I just kind of suggest to people, as you follow that, think about it from a local government perspective on all of the different variables that go into a project that will have potentially impacts for generations, and how that will, impact that region there. So again, our video is very timely. That shows that, there's not a part of one's life that we don't have an impact in. And, we do a lot of things, even behind the scenes, that you may not realize. Local government is the government that makes things work.
Those are going to be some interesting local government meetings. I've already been reading about them. Want to give you one last opportunity, Hannah, to share any final thoughts and whether there'll be room for a local government attorney in your next video.
Well, we're definitely open to it, but I guess it depends on how you're going to bill us, Dan. No, I would just encourage anybody who's either considering local government, or even if you're in local government, and looking to take that next step, or if you're non-traditional, looking for a career change. Working in local government is a great job. Sometimes we forget to mention, but it does also come with some great benefits. Great pay, but good people. Everyone that I've ever encountered is, incredibly friendly, and everyone in the profession is in it for a reason, and it's very evident. So I can't speak highly enough about local government, and ILCMA is a great resource. So if you're ever looking for a resource, don't hesitate to reach out.
Moses, any final thoughts from you?
Well, as Hannah said, we're here to help. We're here to encourage. We're here to advise. So if you have any inkling of interest in local government, especially if you have a desire to serve the public, and just have an impact on the day-to-day lives of your friends and neighbors and family, I love it. I love having an impact. It's not about me. It's about, those that I serve. We'd be more than happy to point you in the right direction, or who you need to contact and talk to if you're thinking about a career in public service. So we'd be, more than willing to assist anyone, who wants to look at taking that next step, whether it's a career change, or especially if you're in high school or in college, please do call, please reach out to us. We're here to help. We're here to advise, and we'll be glad. We'd be happy to hear from you.
Well, thank you both for joining me and talking to me about your careers and the work you're doing with ILCMA to help recruit people to the profession. One last question for you. If you could be the GovLove DJ, what song would you pick as our exit music for this episode? Moses, what do you think?
That's a tough one. I really like the Ali A Fortnite YouTube theme song. We use that a lot in our Little League games when we're warming up or taking the field. So yeah, I would say that's going to be my song there.
Very interesting.
People energized.
I don't know a lot about Fortnite. Hannah, what have you got? Maybe from your experience from the New World Music Theater. What you got?
This question could go a variety of ways. It's a fun one. We're talking about the first recorded snowfall today, so we're going to go with Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles in hopes of that sun coming back out and staying here a little bit longer.
Yeah, okay. We'll see what our GovLove producers choose. They'll add it in post. But it'll be two good, interesting choices. We'll see what they select. But that ends our episode for today. Thanks for coming on and talking with me. GovLove is produced by a rotating cast of ELGL volunteers. ELGL is the Engaging Local Government Leaders Network. You can reach us at elgl.org/GovLove or on Twitter @GovLovePodcast. Thanks for listening. This has been GovLove, a podcast about local government. Bye. Here comes the sun.